Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Open to Life podcast. This is episode 18, and today I am with Colleen Ritz, who is an herbalist and women's health coach. Welcome, Colleen.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here and chat.
Yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation with you because when I discovered that you are a Catholic herbalist, I find that so interesting. And I want to just touch on all things herbalism and Catholicism and all things fertility, pregnancy through that lens. So, can you share with us a little of what first drew you to herbalism and how do you practice it with a Catholic framework?
Yeah, I unfortunately I don't have like a super cool story of I like healed a long-term sickness with herbs. I wish I did. It would sound way better. And honestly, I always say it all starts back to like nursing babies. I've had quite a few of them. And you sit for such a long time when you have to nurse baby. And so I read books and I just started this deep dive. It started with nutrition and then it went into like how like there's some interesting things about modern medicine. And, I kind of went in a spiral for a while there. And then I found a local herbalist and she taught some classes. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. You can heal things with plants. Like who knew? So I took some classes with her and then I decided to go all in on a master's degree. So I ended up actually getting a master's degree in clinical herbalism. And since
That's
then,
so cool.
yeah, I didn't know it was a degree until I found one. Yeah, it was a great program. And since I've graduated, I've had an herbalism and health coaching business. And yeah, I love it. I like doing it because, I mean, God, the way I look at it as a Catholic is that Adam and Eve were born into a garden, like the Garden of Eden. There was plants all around them. And I'm sure they in their knowledge knew what every plant did, what like medicinal benefits every plant did. And I do feel like we've lost some of that knowledge, but herbalism is kind of a way to like learn and grow and really seek out what God designed the natural earth for us to use and how to use it.
Wow. So then how do you root your herbalism practice within church teaching? I'm sure there's a lot of skeptics out there who hear herbalism and immediately are like, wee woo, wee woo, wee woo, new age, new age, new age. So how do you respond to critics like that?
Yeah, I think we just need to take back the narrative. It's been stolen. Like I said, God put Adam and Eve in a garden. He designed this earth for us to use and to use to our benefits. The fact that it's kind of been like taken over by those new age things is just heartbreaking. If we talk about the gifts that God has given us and how I don't know how to word any other, like just God gave them to us, right? So, and he gave everything and it was good. So the plants are good. Herbalism is good in my mind in that way. And then it also goes into like researching companies. Like I will not use companies that sell new agey things. I will walk into a tea shop being excited that it's a tea shop and turn right around and walk out if there's stuff in there. So I just think it's supporting the people that support the Christian beliefs within herbalism and then also just talking about it and talking about how it's here for us and it's good.
Do you see herbalism as part of supporting the feminine genius? Is there a way how that intertwines with us living out our vocations as women?
Absolutely. I really do. I mean, I think that herbalism can benefit any person here, not just women, but the fact that there are so many women who are suffering, whether they're suffering through anxiety, gut health, any of those things, migraines, stress, like all of the things that women like have daily. And then that can impact things like their cycle, or it can impact just the way that they show up for themselves and for their family and for their faith. Herbalism, I feel like is like the lowest level. If you have a pain point and you want to do something to help it, let's look lowest level first. Let's go herbalism. Let's try all of these beautiful herbs, like I said, that God gave us. And it might be so surprising to you. Like it might heal everything. It might get to the root cause. But yes, I feel like within the feminine design, everything's so interconnected, and that's how plants work as well. It can help if you're looking to help your circulation. Let's also look at like your inflammation within your body. Everything's so connected, and herbs are a beautiful way to kind of heal all parts of your body.
Totally. I am wanting to echo what you're saying on herbs being from God, something that He has given us. And I never really thought of it like it's a lost art, that Adam and Eve were first in a garden, and that they probably did know every name of the plants and uses for those plants. For a while, had a rock phase where I was just really obsessed with different rocks, and which I have some still. And I don't think that these things have to like steer away or be in conflict with our faith, so long as we point them back to our creator and remember whose power it really is, which is God, that is allowing for these herbs to help us, or different natural elements. And I can't help but think about Saint Hildegard, and I saw you have a quote from her on your website. I imagine you maybe look to her a lot for inspiration and guidance in your work.
I do. She is difficult to read, though. I'll give her that. She was definitely a mystic, so she had some interesting ways of writing. So I have a couple quotes from her. If I was gonna look to a saint, though, it'd probably be Saint Gianna, just as a healer.
Oh, tell us why.
You know, she was a doctor. She was a healer, and I don't think. And when I say like a doctor, I really don't think Western medicine and herbalism ever need to be in conflict. I really think that they can complement each other, just like her whole life's purpose of healing people, and then also like pro-life, right? She had a child, even though I believe it was cancer. She sacrificed her life for her child. And like, what more pro-life can you get there? And it's just, she's a beautiful saint to look to.
Amazing. So from your experience, what are some common signs that a woman's hormones are out of balance, and how can herbs help?
Yeah. So herbs can do a lot, especially when it comes to the woman's cycle. From my experience, we look at all of those PMS symptoms, all those anxiety, any pain, any headaches that kind of lead up to the cycle. And if you're cycle tracking, we also look at the days before ovulation and the days after, and we see if those fluctuate or if they're the correct length of times. But things like this is where herbs shine, because herbs are beneficial for long-term problems. So when we look at a woman's cycle and say it's just off, it's 15 days, and then it's like 30 days, and then 35 days, it's all over the place kind of, and she is so stressed at work. Let's look at herbs that can help her body adapt to stress. They're called adaptogens. It's a whole category of herbs. But just let's give her body a little bit more, kind of like armor, her nervous system a little bit more armor to be able to adapt to that stress and take that stress on in her daily life. And then hopefully that will, like down the road, as her nervous system calms down, her cycle will be able to self-regulate. So there's that part to it. We can look at any part of a woman's life that is messing with her cycle. But then there's also some herbs that really can help with progesterone or estrogen. There's like Vitex or chaste tree, which is a pretty common one that we see. So there are specific herbs for problems within a woman's hormonal system as well.
Yes, that as you're talking, that was the thing on my mind, because ever since I learned charting, the first method of NFP or body literacy that I learned was the Creighton method, which, if anyone is familiar with different types of FAM NFP methods, Creighton, as people say, is like getting a PhD in cervical mucus fluid, because you really learn how to decipher your different types of mucus. But my point being is, when I first started charting through the Creighton protocol, I discovered that I was having low progesterone, which was such like a answer for so many symptoms I had been experiencing for so many years, probably starting even as a young teenager. And then I started taking bioidentical progesterone, which really changed my life to feel balanced and healthy again in my body. But as you were talking, I was wondering, like, I wonder if there are some herbs I could have tried or can try refilling my prescription on progesterone. And what were those herbs you had suggested if you're deficient in progesterone or high in estrogen?
Yeah, so Vitex is the main one that you'll see. It's generally pretty available on for commercial as a commercial supplement as well. Sometimes it's called Chase Tree or Chase Berry. They're all the same thing. It's all the same herb. And then if you are in a situation in life where you are not possibly getting pregnant, there's also black cohosh that can sometimes help. But if you're in a situation where you can get pregnant, it can be detrimental to a little life. So I always caution on that, only if we're not at all. But yeah, Vitex is generally the main one. And then I would just caution people as they look at supplements, as in anything out there on the web, make sure it's from a quality company or source it correctly, because there's a lot of yuck out there because it's not regulated.
Okay, yeah. And then that's my next question is, where would I, a layperson, go to find these herbs? Do I Google my nearest Chinese medicine store? Where do you recommend someone start?
Yeah, if you have a local herb farm near you, wonderful. There's actually more than you would think. I didn't think that we had any here in Nebraska, but I was pleasantly surprised to actually find out that we had 2 right around Omaha. So there are places that will grow and sell to users, which is great, because I just make sure that they are legit and they're not practicing in any of the woo stuff. Mountain Rose Herbs is a very common place to get herbs. It's generally pretty good at keeping it normal and just herbs. And then Frontier Co-op is a decent place as well online. But if you can find someone local, like that's the best, right? Let's support local businesses and support your local farmers in the area. But yeah.
Okay, very cool. And are there particular herbs or remedies you suggest for women struggling with the irregular periods or the PMS or fatigue? I think you touched on it a little bit ago.
It's gonna be kind of different for everyone, and that's the tricky. It's like can be tricky, but it can also be okay because it's different for everyone. But also, if you're like wanted to try something, it's also a low risk of trying an herb. It's generally not going to hurt you unless you take it at a super high dose. But yeah, like an adaptogenic herb is fabulous for stress, kind of just taking that load that women have like pushed on them constantly by everything we experience. That would be like an ashwagandha, or a valerian could be one. But ashwagandha is a big one right now. If you've heard anything about herbs recently, rhodiola would be another one as well.
Yeah, I feel like ashwagandha is kind of a mainstream. Everyone kind of recognizes the name. Oh, have you tried ashwagandha? I feel like well, I guess it's not an herb. I was thinking magnesium or melatonin, but I mean, are those herbs?
No, I mean, there's definitely herbs with high levels of magnesium in it, which are wonderful.
Okay.
I'm not sure about I don't know if there's any herbs with melatonin, because I think it's something our bodies make naturally. But yeah, there's herbs with magnesium. But yeah, ashwagandha. I mean, for good reason, ashwagandha has a great name. It's a fabulous herb, and a lot of people would do really well on it.
Yeah. So we touched on where can people go to look for herbs, and then how some suggested herbs could help women throughout the cyclical life. Now I want to touch on preconception, preparing to be pregnant. Are there any foundational herbal or lifestyle supports that you recommend? Especially, I'm even thinking to have a healthy ovulation. What would you recommend?
So there's definitely herbs that can support pre, during, and post conception and post pregnancy. But the one thing that I would harp on for preconception is diet. Diet is so important to nourish your body and nourish us with like enough time. Don't just be like, oh, I'm going to nourish it this month and then I'm going to get pregnant. Just those healthy fats. There's been such like a low fat kind of stigma out there for so long, probably since the early 90s. But healthy fats are key to ovulation. They're so important to a woman's cycle. So things like avocados, like full fat yogurt, those are all amazing for you. So yeah, I would just make sure that you're getting a good fat intake. Always, protein's always good for you. And go from there. I always like to say, like, if your great grandma doesn't recognize it as a food, then should you be eating it? Maybe not.
That's funny.
Yeah. Preconception, I would say You really have to look at the diet, and it's not just your diet too. It's your husband's diet also. Like, remember, like, he is 50% of the equation here.
So
And
true.
I was just looking at a study the other day that sperm literally, like, the DNA in sperm builds the placenta. So, and that's, I mean, your baby's
Yes.
future.
I also
So
heard that recently.
yeah, so you guys need to be hand in hand working on this nutrition together. It's not just the woman alone.
Yeah,
So
and
there's
then
that.
it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy how so much of the burden is put on women for
Mhm.
sustaining life, healthy pregnancies, when it's like, oh, men have a part in the equation too, that we're like, I guess, finally just now bringing to the forefront of the conversation.
Yeah. It's funny that I never really heard it talked about before a couple of years ago. But yeah, you would think the baby is 50% of the DNA is coming from the man. Like, has to be good.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how can herbs support then a healthy pregnancy? We talked about preconception. I'm curious about herbal support, not just physically, but maybe even emotionally and spiritually.
Yeah. So there are a couple of herbs that I generally recommend when you're pregnant. So the problem with herbs in pregnancy is that, first of all, there's like no research done on herbs in general because there's just not money in it for companies to do research on herbs. And then you say like herbs and pregnancy, and there's really no research done. So we have to look at historically, like what herbs have been used for thousands and thousands of years, and they've been used safely for pregnant women, and then kind of go from there. So your herbs, especially the first trimester, say that you are just nauseous, you're sick, you don't feel good. Ginger, chamomile, so basic. Oh, and lemon. Ginger, chamomile, and lemon. It'll taste great. It'll get you some hydration. You can cool it if you have a hard time drinking hot drinks when I'm pregnant. So I always ice it, but it can really settle everything down. Chamomile is a calming herb, and it's also a digestive aid. In pregnancy, if you're like having problems with your bowel movements, chamomile is also really good for that. But so there's that. And then there's like some other herbs that you can kind of sprinkle in throughout pregnancy. Once you get past your first trimester, it's a little bit easier to work with herbs. But lemon balm is generally a good one. Lemon balm is like a calming herb, especially for people that are kind of anxious about what's coming or nervous. Lemon balm taken long term can really be soothing to your nervous system. So there's like here and there. And then you look at like the nutrition piece, and you always want to be eating your high fats again and your protein when you're pregnant, and fruits and vegetables, of course. Like, let's eat all of the plants. Yeah, there's other herbs. There's called like nutrient dense herbs. So my favorite herb as an herbalist is something called stinging nettle. And I don't know if you have it out in California, but it grows like a weed here in Nebraska. You walk through a field and all of a sudden your legs are super itchy. It's because you touch stinging nettle. But it is the most nutrient dense plant on earth. Now I can't like actually say that because I don't know that for a fact. But I've heard,
Wow.
yes, it's so good for you. And it's like an antihistamine. It's just so nutrient dense. So especially when you're in your second and third trimester, you can start taking stinging nettle as a tea form as well. And just to get some of that extra vitamin A and B and magnesium and, all of the things that it has in it, and all the nutrients it wants to give you.
Wow. Well, next time we're at the herbal store, I got to get my hands on some stinging nettle, it's called.
Yes, stinging nettle.
What a
Yeah,
funny name.
well, yeah, because it really does sting you, and it really makes you itchy. And like, I have a son that's actually like topically allergic, and it'll cause a rash when it's on the plant. But it's for good reason. Like, the plant's trying to protect all of its goodness. It's a good reason that it's trying to sting you to stay away. Yeah, it's so good. And especially if you suffer from allergies, it's phenomenal for allergies as well, because it's just such like a anti-inflammatory antihistamine.
I remember when I was nearing or in my third trimester, I was going to this pregnancy new mom community center, and at one of the group class days we did like a fun tea making little party, and one of the tea leaf options that they had was, I believe, red raspberry leaf tea. And they did caution us, if I'm remembering correctly, by saying, just so you know, ladies, like, this probably isn't something you want to take until you're nearing your due date, because this is known to possibly help with inducing labor. Is that correct? Is that Am I getting that right?
Kind of. So red raspberry leaf is a like uterine, I don't know what the right word would be. It helps your uterine muscles contract. It's not going to make them contract, but it's going to help them contract efficiently when they do. So you could, I would never say drink it in the first trimester, but you would be fine drinking it in tea form in that second and third. But anything at high doses is just not going to be good when you're pregnant. So I'm sure if you drank it too much, would be a glass or a cup or like a mug here or there will be fine. But just like chamomile, I said chamomile in the first trimester is okay. If you were to drink 9 cups of chamomile in the third, like 9 cups in a row, it can push you into labor. So you just have to kind of be smart about these things. Like, don't drink 9 cups of chamomile tea when you're pregnant. But all of these things can be used correctly and used like efficiently, just at your normal doses.
So then, do you have some favorite herbs to recommend for when a woman is preparing for labor and birth? Maybe even especially for a first-time mom or even moms with past birth trauma. Any herbs you would recommend?
Yeah, I would say, especially in that third trimester coming up on your birth, red raspberry, like you said, that is a wonderful one to start taking in your third trimester. And then I drank for my past 3 pregnancies, I did red raspberry leaf, and then I did a nettle and oat straw tea as well, because like we've already talked about nettle, oat straws, super similar to nettle in the fact that it is just extremely like nourishing. So that was my like, it was like my vitamin in a cup, essentially, is what I always called it. So I would take my vitamin in a cup, I would drink my red raspberry. And then there is also, if you're like really nervous and you feel like you're getting a little anxious about it, that lemon balm's okay to take when you're pregnant. And then there's also something called milky oats that you can take when pregnant too. It is, so if you think of like an oat plant and, you know, before it gets like the little oats on the top, there's a milky substance inside of it before the oats form, and farmers will cut it off at that point and then they will take it and tincture it. So they do put it in alcohol, but you're taking like such a tiny bit of out. It's okay when you're pregnant. And it's just another one of those things that's like nourishing. And I feel like that's going to be a theme throughout pregnancy. Anything I would recommend or anything I would say is just nourish your body, nourish your baby, and nourish your body, your mind, your spirit, all of it when you're pregnant, because it will return to you in dividends, you know, later on when you prepare for birth.
Okay, so we've talked about the cyclical life, how herbs can help, and then herbs helping throughout preconception, pregnancy, birth. And now I want to touch on the postpartum season. Are there some gentle herbs that you would suggest for healing during that time?
Yeah, I'm going to sound like a broken record. I'm going to say nettle and oat straw again. Just because you have like lost, nettle is wonderful in iron, and so is oat straw, just has a lot of vitamins and minerals. But you've lost so much in birth, bleeding, all of that. So nourishment again, and that's where I would really hit nettle, oat straw. Red raspberry can still help because you think your uterine muscles do need to contract back down to their original size. So that can help do it efficiently. Yeah, it's going to be all of those nourishing herbs.
So now, breast milk supply. Are there any herbs that you recommend to support or enhance, protect a milk supply?
Yeah. Fennel and fenugreek are both known galactagogues. I'm pretty sure how you say that.
That's the word.
Yeah. So fenugreek and fennel are both known to help. There's a lot of research, like if you start taking them right away, it will help your milk supply come in. Long-term taking them, there's not as much research. But if you're worried right at the beginning, or maybe say your baby's in the NICU and you can't have that skin contact as much as you want or something like that, fennel and fenugreek are going to be really key to help that supply right at the beginning.
That's so interesting you say that about taking those herbs early on right away. With my son, he had an undiagnosed tongue tie that went and a lip tie that went unnoticed for however many months until I kept advocating for him with the health professionals, and finally we were able to get those ties lasered. And so for many months my son would not latch, and just all the pumping did nothing for my supply. I took all the herbs I could get from the various brands out there, and nothing seemed to work. And I just, now that you say that, I definitely hope, God willing, if we have more children, that note to self, take herbs right away. Like, don't wait for a baby that won't latch. Don't wait for pumping to not increase the supply. Like, just go for it. So that's a good nugget for me with it from my own personal experience. Okay, so then how can herbs support a woman's long-term reproductive health beyond childbearing years? So now I'm thinking like perimenopause, menopausal seasons.
Yes, so now we've opened it up to all herbs, right? Because you're not pregnant anymore. There are so many, that you could take. It's wonderful. God gave us so many options. But for women, and I know I've said this already at the beginning, is stress. Like, there is just so much anxiety and stress, and it all just plays a role in your health. And you can't show up and be the woman you want to be if you're constantly feeling like that. So once again, those adaptogenic herbs, but then also we can look at gut health. So if your gut is not aligned and you don't have proper gut health, either from things you were eating past or in the past, or maybe you actually have like a food sensitivity that you didn't know about and your gut's always kind of been a little off, that can affect everything else. I mean, not only can it affect your mood, but just going through life, like not feeling the greatest in your gut is not a way that I would want anyone to live. So herbs shine when it comes to gut health. And this is where you would drink like a tea all day and you could sip on it. But this tea, we could craft it to be anti-inflammatory, but then also like wound healing. Because if you think about an inflamed gut, it's like red and angry, and it's been like that for a while. So if we calm it down, like lower the inflammation, and then we give it some herbs that are phenomenal at healing, then it can just turn so many corners. And, we can also then look at like your gut microbiome and prebiotics and probiotics and all of that. But none of that's going to work first if you don't like calm the gut down and heal it first, because what good is trying to get the good bacteria in there if it's just going to die off anyways, because it's an inhospitable place to live.
So focusing on the gut health.
Yes, gut health and then stress. There's so many the wonderful herbs and mushrooms. Mushrooms are great for stress.
Okay. So how can busy Catholic women begin integrating herbal care into their homes, their lives? What are maybe some small, simple ways that you could recommend?
Yes. So I have said this, I will say this on Blue in the Face to everyone I talk to. If you want to start integrating herbs into your life, the number one thing that I would say you do is go to the store, get an organic, if possible, chamomile or a sleepy time tea that has chamomile in it. Make yourself a cup of tea every night before you go to bed, because it has like so many benefits. If we want to talk about like habits to being healthy and habits to using herbs, we're going to habit stack. So it's the end of the day. You need to wind down anyways before bed. So you're going to pour that cup of tea, you're going to sit down, and it's like an anchor. My cup is my anchor. Like my body knows, like we teach a baby how to sleep, right? We sleep train a baby. My body knows that it's getting time to sleep. So I'm going to drink my tea. And then the tea is also going to have benefits as well. That chamomile in it, it's going to help me relax, but it's also going to be a digestive aid. So everything I had over the course of the day, it's going to help my gut digest it, and it's anti-inflammatory. So if anything was irritating to my gut, it's going to help there as well. And then you can play with it. If your gut's a little funky, put some peppermint in it too, and that'll help. But it's really that like act of having tea at the end of the day is just like instrumental in setting yourself up for success to fall asleep, to, start the next day all over again. So if you're going to do one thing, have a cup of tea at the end of the day.
Okay. So now I have just a few rapid fire fun questions to ask. Are you ready, Colleen?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. So favorite healing herb you use every day?
Nettle, stinging nettle.
Right. Saint you invoke while working with women?
Saint Gianna, love her.
A good book or resource you recommend for beginners to look into herbalism?
I have it right here. This is Medicine for Beginners. I should just rep this book. I should contact them because I love it so much. But it has a great bunch of recipes, and then it also has sections that is just super basic knowledge about herbs. So if you're looking for one, that's the one I would do.
Okay. One thing you wish every Catholic woman knew about her body?
That it can be healed. Like you're not stuck. There is always something that we can try or do, whether it's herbs or lifestyle changes or just learning to sit in the sun in the morning. There's always something that we can try. And even if you feel like you're healthy, there's always something you can do. Everyone always can work on their health because it's
Great.
beautiful.
Well, Colleen, I've really enjoyed chatting with you. And I have one final question that I'm asking all my guests. Since this is the Open to Life podcast, an intersectional space for fertility awareness and the pro-life movement, I want to ask you, what are some words of encouragement you can give to the single girl who finds herself in an unexpected pregnancy, or the young married couple who finds themselves pregnant with an NFP surprise? What advice can you give to encourage both to be open to life?
Well, this is easy because that second situation has happened to me. I stopped breastfeeding and I just did not think about how that shifts your ovulation within your cycle. It was before I knew a lot of what I know now. So our fourth was very much a surprise, but it'll be okay. Like God will not put more on your plate than you can handle. And there is so much more support out there than you will ever know at the time. I found out I was pregnant and 2 minutes later, my mom randomly walked in the door. I didn't even know she was coming. And I was just like bawling because obviously happy, want the life, but it was a lot at the moment. And I think God knew that I was going to find out, and God sent my mom to my house at that exact moment. Like how perfect is that? So there's so much support out there, and we just have to either ask for it or pause and kind of listen to how God wants us to take the direction and go from there.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on the Open to Life podcast. Please share, where can people go to find you, learn more, and work with you?
Yeah, my website is nurtured-roots.net, and I'm also on Instagram at NR Health Coaching. So find me on either of those spots. You can book a free 15-minute call with me on my website to see if what you're going through and what I can offer mesh together, and we can make a team.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Colleen, for taking your time to be here. And I'm really appreciative of this conversation. I'm going to re-listen to it for all the advice and wisdom you shared. And yeah, you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Thanks for having me on.